The historical background of the Nicene Creed is a little complicated because we have to distinguish it from the Creed of Nicaea. The Creed of Nicaea is the creed of the Council of Nicaea in 325. The Nicene Creed is actually the creed of the Council of Constantinople in 381. What happened is there was a big controversy about the Creed of Nicaea for 50 years or so. And in 381, that controversy was resolved at the Council of Constantinople, and this expanded version of the faith of Nicaea became the creed that we call the Nicene Creed. Scholars will call it the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed because it came from Constantinople, but was expressing the Nicene faith. It's that Nicene Creed from 381 that is the creed that is really the most important confession of faith in the history of the Christian tradition. It's the most widely used confession of faith in the Christian world. The large majority of Christians will recite this creed every Sunday in worship. So that's the Nicene Creed, which comes from Constantinople in 381. But at the core of the Nicene Creed is that Creed of Nicaea in 325. And if you want to understand what the Nicene Creed's all about, you do want to go back to that Creed of Nicaea and its core teaching. Its core teaching was a rejection of the heresy of Arius, A-R-I-U-S, or Arianism, you can also call it, because Arius had some followers. Arius taught what could be summed up in just a few words as, there was once when he was not. If you remember that, you can remember the core of what the Nicene Creed rejects. There was once when he was not is about the being of the Son of God. The Son of God who is pre-existent. Everyone agrees about that, including Arius, that long before Jesus was born, long before Mary was born, long before there were sun and moon and stars, the Son of God was begotten from the Father. Everyone agreed about that, including the heretics. The question was what it means for the Son of God to be begotten from the Father. And that's complicated in part because the word begotten is no longer familiar English. It was originally, 500 years ago, quite familiar English, and it's a very familiar process. You are begotten if your father begets you. A father begets a son. But this is a biological process. So a bull begets a calf, a stallion begets a colt, a rooster begets a chick. In every case, it's a father who begets, a mother who conceives, and a baby or a child who is born. Now, that's a process in time. There's a time before the son is begotten, or the calf, or the colt. So there was once when he was not. I have begotten some sons. Right? There was once when they did not exist. That's how the process of begetting works. But the Orthodox Church Fathers, the bishops gathered at the Council of Nicaea in 325, said the begetting of the Son from the Father, from God the Father, is a different kind of begetting. It's something beyond our grasp, beyond our comprehension, and it does not take place in time. It's not a process. The Son originates from the Father. He is generated by the Father in a process that's labeled eternal generation. But we don't understand how that process works because it's not a process really at all. It's not a process in time. Therefore, there was never once when he was not. God the Father has always been a father. He has always had a son. That's Athanasius' argument in favor of the Nicene faith. Another crucial argument in its favor, and I think part of what made this argument so visceral, was that if we worship Jesus Christ, the Son of God, sitting at the right hand of God the Father, then we had better be worshiping the one true God, a God who is equal to the Father, the Son of God who is equally God with the Father, equally eternal, and just as eternal, meaning there was never once when he was not. That's the issue at the core of the Creed of Nicaea, at the core of the Nicene Council in 325, at the core of the Council of Constantinople in 381. at the core of the confession of faith that is still the most widely used and important confession of faith in the whole Christian world.